There's a guy in northern Wisconsin named Steve Avery. In 1985, he was convicted of a sexual assault, and then 18 years later, he was released because of new DNA evidence.
Right. So he sues the police for $36 million. And what would be the easiest way to make that go away? Hi, I'm Paco Romaine.
I'm George Chen.
And you're listening to the SUP Doc Podcast.
SUP Doc is a show where we talk to interesting people with strong opinions about their favorite documentaries.
And in this episode, we review Making a Murderer, the 2015 documentary that captured America's attention and was the subject of constant discussion.
Today we talk with comedian, co-host of Boars, Gore, and Swords, Red Scott.
So we're here with Red Scott. Hi, Red. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Hello, Red.
Welcome to SUP Doc.
I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. We also have our producer on the mic with us, Will Scoville.
How's it going?
The only guy who can hear himself. Yeah.
He's got the cans on. And we are talking about what? Making a Murderer.
Oh, man.
Holy shit.
Now, were you already interested in this, or was it that I asked you, or that we knew that you were interested already?
That's right. I think literally I commented on one of Paco's Facebook comments about it.
Yes, you did.
And that's how he knew. And he could tell from my tone of Facebook engagement that this is a topic I had some thoughts on.
Every time we brought this up, I was like, Red Scott. We need to talk to Red Scott about this.
So I don't know how you want to go through it, because I feel like there's two important questions. The one, there's a million things. It's a 10-episode long, could have been 8, by the way. But I feel like it's Making a Murderer. Do you want to set the scene at all? What we're describing?
If you've never heard of this before and you are
maybe
brand new to Earth,
have some self-respect. Maybe some people just like George Chen and want to hear what he thinks.
That's true.
Or
Okay,
Paco
well,
Romaine.
in that
And you have
case-
to explain to them this show that they've never heard. Maybe the
do
people.
you know what Netflix is?
Yeah.
Maybe
the people who listen to this have enough money to listen to a free podcast, but not enough for Netflix.
Right.
Yeah,
that's a
possible.
good point. That's a good
Between
point.
$8 and $0 a month.
They're in that window.
This might be Netflix's most popular documentary ever, I would imagine.
Well, yeah. I mean, how many
With the
documentaries
qualification
have
of
they made?
documentary.
Yeah.
well, in their
They're making more and
documentary
more.
column.
And now, listen, among the streaming only 10-episode
Docu-series?
True crime.
web only documentaries,
Right.
this has to be one of the top 10 of all
This is a
time.
big one.
It's
This is
it's
a big
incredible.
one. So now that you've heard, it's a whodunit crime docu-series on Netflix that stormed America.
It's less of a whodunit and more of a
Will
did
Scoville.
he do it?
Yeah.
Like
Right.
did he do it documentary?
Because okay, so it stars Stephen Avery, a man who looks like Homer Simpson come to life. Like he's just like, I mean, if you converted him into an actual human being with that approximate intelligence, you would have Stephen Avery. And listen, I actually have a very soft spot for Stephen Avery. You can't see me. He looks like a lot of my relatives, or me if I make some bad choices for about 10 years.
Right.
Like it's not.
He looks kind of like a fat redneck Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah, and which I feel like
A juggalo in the making.
Absolutely. Yeah.
By the way, the only reason anybody who watches that thinks he's innocent is because he's not from the South. You take Stephen Avery. He's got a nice, gentle Fargo Midwestern
Yes, he does,
accent, and
yeah.
it's like I'd ask that man for a cup of sugar.
Yes, you would.
Yeah, you put him in Alabama, and everybody'd be like, he fucking did
He
that.
did everything. Yes,
He
he did it
fucking
all.
did that.
He did everything that he isn't even accused of.
Classy Midwesterner.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just wasn't wearing overalls. I mean, that's,
He wasn't wearing underwear.
No, well, good point.
Yeah, we did find that out.
We do find that out in the first
He's-
episode.
Free balling.
That all he does is free ball all over the place.
He may be violent enough to go commando. Yeah.
Right.
So I am.
So, well,
Please.
I want to set has everybody here seen all 10 episodes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
On mic, yes. People on mic. All of us. On
Okay,
mic.
everybody. Yeah,
In the room.
Is there another person here? Who's
There's
not
a
on mic?
guy who keeps wandering in and out.
Yeah,
I don't know
well,
what you've
seen
seen.
it too.
We're not counting cats.
Okay.
Just human people.
George, Paco, Will, and Red.
Yeah. So okay, everybody's all coming out. There's two questions that this documentary I feel like brings up. One, do you think him and his nephew should have been guilty of their respective crimes? And then two, are they guilty?
Right.
Because those are two very different questions, and I feel like you'd get a lot of people might agree on the first one, and then the second one you might get some divergent opinions.
Interesting. So once again, are Brandon and Steven, did they commit it? And then
Sure.
And then secondly, are they guilty?
Right.
Yes.
The three things.
No. Sorry. Should they be guilty?
Should they be
Should the
found
law?
guilty?
Oh, should the
the
law-
law find them guilty?
Because of the
Should-
evidence presented.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is
Because there's a case where you completely believe they did it.
Yeah.
But you also believe the police are completely corrupt and just
Yeah.
cut whatever corner they could to get them in jail, despite
Right.
Whatever.
And I feel like watching each episode, I watched all 10, then I watched maybe 5 different episodes, and the entire time I vacillate between, he's innocent. Fuck, he's guilty. Oh, he's innocent. Oh, he's guilty. Like, that's where I went. Did you do that at all? Were you?
Well, here's the thing. I am fucking gullible. There was a documentary that came out in 1997 that was called When Cars Attack. At the time, I believe I was 13, 14 years old, and it was a Fox mockumentary that had kind of a disclaimer at the beginning, but it wasn't too assertive. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so the premise of this documentary is that in the entire life of cars, there's a part that Henry Ford put into cars that made them sentient, and they're killing us. It was an hour-long documentary, and I completely believed it.
Oh my God,
13-and-a-half-year-old me was convinced by this documentary. And basically it was a parody of these types of documentaries that are misleading you.
Right.
And it was hosted by Richard fucking Belzer.
Oh, wow.
It was on Fox. It
Yeah.
was like on a network show. It had decent production values.
Right.
And like they had even the stuff where they have like cars running people over. It's like this hazy footage, so it looks like it's all from
Right.
security cams and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
I kind of
100%
remember that.
believe it.
Now that you mentioned Richard Belzer.
So I believed that cars are sentient and trying to kill us.
Right.
So I don't believe that any of these people in any of these documentaries have killed anybody. I don't believe that Stephen Avery killed anybody. I don't believe that Brandon, what's his name?
Dassey.
Dassey has killed anybody. I don't believe Adnan Saeed killed anybody. I don't
Robert
believe-
Durst?
No. Yes.
Robert Durst?
Robert Durst killed a hell of people.
Yeah, he did. He killed hell of people.
Well, you're gullible. That's why. Yeah.
No, that was the one where I was watching that and I was like, this looks pretty bad.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
doesn't look too good.
All his burping. So much burping.
So I will come out and say that I do not believe that Stephen Avery did it. I don't, and most of the time through it, I didn't. And yeah, I'd have if you put it up to me, like it's
You're the juror number
If I'm
12.
the juror, like I'm gonna be like nah.
yeah.
And what if they're like, dude? I'd be like nah. I would stick with it.
If
Unlike
the
some of the
judge
jurors in
pressed
that
you
room.
with
Nah,
more
brah.
dudes,
Yeah, dude.
But that was
dude.
Raw.
Nah.
that brings up
Fucking nah.
fucking not.
that brings up a third question that
Uh-oh.
if he didn't, who
Who
did?
did? Yeah.
Because she
So
is
no,
dead.
this is a big pet peeve of mine because I feel like a lot of people are made uncomfortable by the idea that somebody's murdered and we have no idea who did it. And so like the focus should be like, do we have proof that Stephen Avery did it? And like that, this gets to the divide where I'm talking. But like a lot of people will be like, well, then you're like, I don't think Stephen Avery did it. I don't think he should be in jail. And people are like, well, who did do it? I'm like, I don't know. They didn't talk about that for 10 episodes.
Yeah.
Like there's no, and I think, I suspect there's legal reasons they
There
can't
is.
do that. I said, cause Serial didn't do that either. And that seems like a lot of people seem to think that they were implying that it could have been Jay in Serial, not to cross docks. I don't know what the policy is
No,
on
we
that.
can cross
Fair
docs.
enough. Yeah. We just brought up Durst. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I feel like there's a legal reason why they can't do that. And I think a lot of people, until you give them an alternate theory, they're going to say, based on what I know, this seems like the most likely person.
Well,
But there's also not like, in this case, it is not like, okay, they found the body, say on the beach or something.
Fair.
Yeah.
They found it like
Right.
that. Not only did they find her body or what
Well,
was left of it,
Charred bones.
yeah, her personal effects, her car, and evidence
Right.
that the two of them were together and had some sort of. Now,
Wait.
interaction.
and inside of her car, they found blood from both of them.
Okay.
So whether or not you believe about the planting of the blood evidence.
Uh-huh.
So
Obviously.
it's not only that, like, not only who else would have done it, but who else would have gone through the trouble of setting all that stuff up?
No, I completely disagree because I think all the stuff that appears as a setup is so transparent. Did you see the pictures of the like? I mean, do you remember the Toyota RAV4? It like had a board leaning up.
Yeah, I
against
know.
it.
Yeah.
It was like a kindergartner's version of like I've hidden this car.
They
Yes.
could have smashed it.
Can't you see how I hit it?
But
it felt like an idiot person was like, I'm
Yeah.
trying to frame Steve Avery.
They are
So-
two idiots. Though.
they are two idiots, though. Those guys are
We
not very
cannot-
smart.
Well, collectively they
Forget
have
that.
140 IQ.
Yeah,
Collectively,
like they're not the brightest guys in the world who are doing this. So I would yeah, totally leave it.
However,
You don't think he's too dumb to lie? I feel like he's too dumb to lie.
I don't think he's too dumb to lie.
But then
Brandon's
at the
too
same time,
dumb to lie, but he doesn't like stay consistent.
But
with
he
any
did
of his
lie
reality.
to the cops when he
Oh,
said
he lied
did
to
it.
everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he lied to himself. I think.
like he's just
That's where it all starts, is when you lie to
yeah,
yourself.
he's just an idiot who just like will say yeah to anything.
Yeah.
Which is what I think got him in the mess in the first. I think he had something to do
Yeah.
with getting rid of the body
No.
just because he's that stupid, and then
I'm
he
so
would
glad
say
Will's
whatever.
on mic for this.
Yeah.
You got
I know.
dissenting because
Well-
I don't know what I think. Honestly,
Okay.
at this point. I
But then
don't
at the
know.
same time, they had that whole story about like, oh no, like in the bedroom, cuffed to the bed, sliced her throat, stabbed her in the stomach,
Shot her.
shot her, and I'm like, yeah, but they can't
No,
clean
they
that
can't
up, man. They
No.
found nothing
No.
inside that
Did you-
apartment.
Okay,
I don't
okay,
think that
so-
It
was
looked
so
like
that-
my apartment. for
Yeah,
a second. I'm like
absolutely.
I couldn't
Absolutely
hide blood
not.
in my apartment.
So I want to see like who thinks like whether or not he should be guilty. Like forget about the prosecutors. Based on what you saw in those 10 episodes, who thinks Stephen Avery killed Teresa Halbach?
Oh, I think so.
So
Most
that's one
definitely.
yes.
That's one.
I'm no.
I'm a no.
You're a no?
Yeah.
Okay, and then
I think that there's reasonable doubt that he did not.
so you're still in a maybe.
I
that's-
just don't
that's
have a
fencey.
compelling. I don't. Yeah, I'm a fence guy.
You're a
I
fencer.
don't really like
Yeah.
to come. I mean, like this took me a long time to watch because I was
Walter
actually
Frey
like,
over
kind of
here.
bummed out about all of it. But I no, thank you.
It's a bummer,
a
especially
bummer.
the 7th and 8th episode that are very boring. Those are real bummers.
Well, that's where I kind of watched. The first one, I was kind of knew what was going to be happening, and then by like the third one, I was like, oh, there's so many twists and turns.
Yeah.
Because I think that's when maybe they brought Brendan in as the third one.
Yeah.
And then 7, I just like stopped in the middle of it, and I literally tried to watch it the other night, and I just like fell asleep watching it. But then today, I got through and you're right, that last one is just purely prologue.
Well, that's.
I mean,
which
epilogue.
one is the one where they're talking about like whether or not his testimony should be able to.
Where the Brendans should be
Yes,
counted?
like because they're like
that might have been 5 or
a
6.
big thing. Like that was it. Roger had already been convicted, gone to jail.
The guy from the first crime,
yeah.
the 85 crime.
No. This is
Roger.
Roger Avery? No.
No,
Stephen Avery.
Stephen
Stephen,
Avery.
God,
Yeah.
okay.
See. Okay. Stephen Avery had already been convicted of this crime and gone to jail based on the testimony of dude. And then his trial comes up.
Oh,
And they're-
Brendan's trial. That's
and then they're
8.
saying
That's 8.
should that testimony be admitted to this trial? And so that's why they put that episode in the documentary.
No.
Oh my
No,
god. Oh my
like-
god.
And they ultimately
eight?
said
Yeah.
yes. And if they had said no, it can't, that would have changed the whole, because that was a big basis for
Right.
Stephen's trial.
We're talking
Yes.
about Brendan's, not Bob. Like, what
Yeah,
happened with
no, okay.
Bobby's? What happened with Bobby's testimony? Did that end up getting thrown out?
Bobby, and
Bobby
then
said that.
he was with somebody else,
Yeah,
and that other
he was
person
with the
said
brother.
it with Bob.
Oh, no. Bobby was with Barb's husband.
Yeah.
Jesus, these fucking names.
Strasic or
Yeah.
which and this is also when you say like who potentially did it, that there were some theories that got thrown around
Yeah, there
by
was Scott Tadich.
Steve Scott, right.
Yes.
So that's who was with Bobby, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, they-
well,
They-
weren't
they
together.
were each
weren't-
other's alibi.
They weren't
Yes.
hunting, and they
They
crossed.
yeah.
But they were
paths.
each other's alibi.
They were
also.
each other's alibi, and no one else that day had seen either of them, except for each of them saw each other on their way to go hunting. Apparently.
So that's one thing that was thrown out there as a possibility. It doesn't necessarily set up a motive, other than everyone abused women apparently
Yes.
in the entire family.
It is
Absolutely.
the North.
There was a lot of
It is the
beating.
North.
There's a lot of
what they do.
beatings.
You know how those Starks are.
Yeah, it is the North. They get very mad. All they can do is drink. up
Red
there.
will make a lot of Game of Thrones references
Yes.
throughout
But they
this
do-
because that's what he also
they
does.
do
That's
have-
what I'm used to doing on Mike.
Which is what? Oh, yeah.
Game of Thrones
Game of Thrones
references.
That's right. The game of.
I'm actually not even caught up on that last season. season. I watched the
What?
first 2, and then I kind of
you're
like.
insane.
Everybody lives that
Crazy.
season. It's crazy. Like they actually, it's just
Really?
kind of like an
Well,
adventure
Don't
series.
throw me off. You're totally psyching me out.
Not,
Okay.
you know.
No,
Well,
please. I
Every
will catch
family
up.
makes it through unscathed.
I will catch up.
Well,
I'm lying.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that.
I was making jokes.
I was
Okay,
gullible.
sorry.
It's still
you
Game
were
of
gullible.
Thrones.
Red is a comedian, and I am not anymore.
I'm not a trustworthy witness.
No, you're not.
You should have sworn me in
should
if you
have
wanted.
should have worked for the Manitowoc County Police Department.
Manitowoc County, not city.
Has anyone been on a jury?
Yes.
No.
I almost was. I was so close. I was almost the last jury member. That was actually. I swear to God, it was a crime that I wasn't able to find, but it's apparently pretty high profile in San Francisco. This was like a year ago or year and a half, and it was like 2 kids, like they were like 15 and they murdered somebody, and I guess it was gang related. And well, anyway, long thing. Like it was one of those things because they knew a bunch of people were going to be filtered out. First day you show up, there's 800 people for one jury selection. So that you like fill out a paper, and what I didn't realize is everybody else was just lying. Like everybody else was just writing whatever they wanted to get out of it. And I wrote something that I thought would get me out of it, but did not. I forget what it was. Thank you, sir. And the second day, so we come back, and basically I didn't realize the way it works is I guess they have a priority. And they start calling people up, and as soon as they get 12 seats full, it's over. So it's like you're just like waiting for, hoping every person who goes up there is going to get picked. They're asking questions of, and they had gotten to 11, and they finally got to me after like 3 hours. So I'm like I'm on the bubble, and I'm basically like, oh fuck, I decided I wasn't gonna lie to get out of it. So it's like and basically, I was too good of a juror, and the prosecution dismissed me.
Because you were going to be too fair
I was
about
going to be
it?
too fair about it. Like, they're asking, I was trying to, like, I asked them for, they came up with the question was something like, would you be willing, it was a very boilerplate question they asked me, just as like a starting point. And like, would you be willing to convince somebody to the death penalty based on reasonable doubt? Or something like that. I was like, well, like, what's reasonable doubt? And they had like just a very long. It's like, say there's like a kid and he's eating cookies and he gets like crumbs all over himself.
Was it like? Did they have like the suitcase from Blade Runner? Did they?
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
Replicant test?
Yes.
No, it was something like this. It was like, say, like you're in a locked house.
What's
and
a turtle?
And there's a plate
What's
of
a
cookies.
tortoise?
There's a plate of cookies, and there's a kid there.
Uh-huh.
And then you leave the room, and you're the only 2 people in the house, and you come back, and the cookies are gone, and there's crumbs all over the kid.
Right.
Would you put that kid to death?
Yeah, would you kill that kid?
Would you kill that kid? It depends on the
Personally,
cookie.
with a machete.
Yeah.
No.
And I was like, I don't know. I don't
say no.
And basically, we went back and forth a couple of times. And
On the jury selection? on
Yeah,
that?
no, they were giving me more examples.
Yeah.
And like the one was finally, the judge was okay with my response. I forget what I said, but the prosecutor was like, would you say it's like, I forget what like reasonable to say that I have a heartbeat? And it was like, you could have one of those fake hearts. Like you might not have a pulse. And by the way, that line killed.
You're just like, these are great jury
The
bits.
defense fucking lost their shit.
Was there an applause break?
Like, you could be a
there was
fucking
a
vampire.
straight up round of laughter.
That's-
and then
nice.
so the thing is, they don't want other people to realize, like, oh, if I just say this, I'm out of it.
Right.
So they asked like a couple more boilerplate questions,
Right.
and then it was like, okay, they like both went and huddled with the guy,
Yeah.
just to like throw everybody off,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and then he's like, thank you.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
dismissed.
Yeah.
Juror 42.
By
Yeah.
being too
Witty.
Yeah,
too good at it.
yeah, too good. That was a reasonable question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Cheney didn't have a heartbeat. Like
No, that's for sure.
that's true. That's literal.
I know.
right.
Like he can.
Electric.
It's.
Isn't that amazing?
That's
It's
amazing.
battery powered heart.
By the way, how is that? I don't think I've ever heard somebody do that in stand-up. But like Cheney literally doesn't have a heartbeat.
That is true. We are one like malfunction away to having George Bush be our president. Huh?
Yep.
You see? See who was in charge joke? Yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Oh man.
So Stephen Avery, clearly innocent. We all agree.
I think we can all agree.
Will is turning bright red.
Len, there's so many. So
I
then-
wouldn't let him cat sit. Is all
So
I know.
we've all agreed on that. But let's get to the who thinks he should have been guilty. Like who thinks he should have been? Who thinks that the prosecution didn't do something illegal or shitty, or that like his defense was so incompetent that he should have gotten a second trial?
Oh, second trial, most definitely.
Len Shasinski or whatever his name
we're talking
was?
about Brendan. That's Brendan.
He was
Len Shasinski worked on.
Yeah, he was
Stephen's case,
originally
too?
Stephen's lawyer.
Right.
Yeah, that guy is the worst.
That guy was.
Oh, that
horrible.
guy was terrible.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that guy did not have Stephen's best.
He looked
interest.
like a puppet.
No.
Oh, God,
he
yeah,
did not
like-
have his best
That was
interest.
terrible. By the way,
aging howdy doody.
everybody on the internet has said this. Just search Twitter, Len Shasinski, and then William H. Macy, and you can see you can see like every single person being like Fargo
That's
season
who's gonna
3,
play it, yeah.
Len Shasinski.
They're going to make a movie about this.
Oh,
they're
for
going to have
sure.
to make like a big theatrical. I know this has already happened, but
No. So I'm confused by that. Like as somebody, like if I have a book I like. And they're going to make a movie about it. I'm not like, oh my God, they're going to make a movie out of my book. I already have the book. And like, I feel like the documentary is even worse.
Oh, yeah.
Because we already have reality.
oh, I know.
I don't
it's
need
gonna
to
be
see
terrible.
a dramatization
No, I
of
agree.
the reality which we
Right.
are already
I'm
experiencing.
not going to see it.
But
Yeah.
there's so many people are excited by that stuff, and I don't get it.
Yeah.
They'd rather
no,
see
I'd
that.
rather watch the documentary. Hence the podcast.
Absolutely.
But
No, in 20 years it'll be like The People versus OJ, which is like
Yeah.
premiering like yesterday. Or
man.
Oh
something.
yeah, I do want to see
or
that. Though.
tonight or something. But Kaczynski was Brendan Dassey's lawyer.
I think he represented both of them for varying periods of time, but he was Stephen Avery's lawyer initially.
Oh, okay.
That guy was a jerk.
That guy was a
That
jerk.
guy was the
like-
worst.
Well, also then
No, he
Even
definitely
though-
should have been. I say mistrial
Absolutely.
for that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There should have been.
Even
Brendan
though-
needed a mistrial.
Even though I think
Not Stephen?
Stephen did it, I think that lawyer was terrible. It was awful.
Yeah.
And Ken Krantz, I for sure think Ken Krantz pulled some shit.
Oh, yeah.
I
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure
Dude,
believe
come on. I
believe
let me
that.
be specific. I believe
Sexting
he
motherfucker.
illegally planted his semen on some young women. Like based on what happened.
Yeah, he did.
Would you like
He
a
just
discreet
threw it on
amount
there.
of semen
Yeah.
delivered to you?
He took it out of a vial.
Like,
Yes.
like
waited.
it was like Silence of the Lamb style.
And
Just
put it
threw
on
it.
their steering wheel.
There's ETGA on the semen.
That
Yeah.
guy is full of just fucking corruption and.
I
I'm not
like his
actually-
quiet voice though. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Weirdly calming.
It's the
It
weirdest.
is
It's so
creepy.
eerie.
It
It's
is
so
eerie,
eerie.
dude.
No.
No.
I mean,
it's
I'm not
creepy.
saying I like it. Like I enjoy it. Like I just like that it is coming out of that
Yeah.
weird body.
I just want to take it. It's when people speak that.
He looks
meekly-
and sounds like a balloon deflating.
Yes, he does. He does. He also very much looks like one. He's yeah, I know it's and he's just like Rotary Club, Republican golf
Yep.
course, just racist. Ugh.
I like you're gonna do it. You're gonna do the.
Yeah,
voice.
I'm trying. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about it. I don't think I have that like voice in my range.
You
like-
guys done with that popcorn?
he's basically
I could eat your popcorn.
he's the old. Do you remember like the old Family Guy? He was the old man who would hit on
yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
boys.
Hey there, Chris. I can't
Very
do it.
discreet.
God damn it.
Would you like? Do you like power?
Do you like popcorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gross. That guy's
Actually,
just
that
gross.
that was pretty. Like yours was close to both of them. I feel like.
I was in the
I
middle.
feel like you were finding.
Yeah, it's all in the.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
like popcorn?
You
No, there's a lot of good characters in here. There's a
Oh
lot
my
of
God.
crazy
Oh, yeah.
There's
characters.
too many almost.
Oh man. Okay, so if we're gonna talk about Kaczynski, because I just watched 7, 8, 9, 10 today. So some of the other stuff's a little hazy, but so I didn't remember exactly what his involvement was in the other case. I do remember like just having the fact that his investigator
Right.
is grilling Brendan
Right.
with all these details,
Oh,
and then like
God.
cries at the trial. Like, oh, I mean,
Yeah,
okay.
when he was talking about like that ribbon.
the ribbon
I was
from
like,
the
give
church.
me a
Yeah,
break.
I
Come
know.
on,
And
man.
it's just
Awful.
like this was supposed to be his like
He was
his
rock hard in
defense
that
attorney.
scene.
Ugh.
Yeah, he was. He was rock hard in that scene.
Fake
Well,
news.
what was that
O'Keefe.
guy's name?
Mark O'Keefe.
Oh yeah.
Mark O'Keefe. Ken Krantz, I believe, was malicious and did
Yeah.
something illegal. Len Shasinski, Kaczynski, Subminsky.
Coburn's the
Yeah.
other guy that gets Lenz and Coburn are brought up a lot.
Lenz and Coburn, I felt like if they're the ones I'm thinking of, I felt like they were thugs.
Yeah.
Like I felt like maybe they did
Yeah.
something illegal, but it's because somebody asked them to.
Coburn
that's
found
the-
the key, right?
That's the thing that like even though I think Steven did it, I think he I think there was some shit going on with the cops. Like
Yeah.
I mean I think because everything that they were saying about what happened inside that house, I do not believe a word of what happened. I do not believe that key was just there. I don't
Yeah.
believe they were even firing shots in the garage.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't believe any of that. I do
again,
believe that
as-
They
Stephen
said that
Avery
they-
killed that woman, though.
Well, I will say, as somebody, again, who has a lot of relatives who own land that looks like that,
Yeah.
who look like that, it's possible we're related. They definitely fired guns inside that and every part of their house. Like, what do you mean?
That's true.
Yeah, especially if that garage door goes up. Like, why wouldn't you fire?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, apparently the garage was also full of deer blood because that's where he was cleaning deer that he would shoot
Yeah.
and hunt and.
that he would shoot that got trapped in his garage.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
No.
But it was apparently scrubbed clean of Teresa Halbach's blood, but not
Absolutely.
of the deer blood. Because they
Yes.
still found deer blood. in
Right.
there. So they were able to differentiate between the blood.
Yeah, and
Apparently.
then there was nothing in his bedroom where
Right.
she was apparently stabbed in the stomach and
Right.
had
According
her throat
to
slit and
Brendan's.
raped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On top of a
Nothing.
bunch of very absorbent surfaces.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and there
Yeah.
was nothing.
Yeah. But you still think he's guilty.
Absolutely,
And that's based. I like
that
it. No, I
is
like-
based. That is based on the vehicle.
Dislike of fat people.
Yeah, the vehicle on the property, the
Clearly planted.
the bones in the burn pit.
Right.
Oh, clearly. What? Like you.
The
I'm
phone-
gonna kill her and burn her outside my bedroom window.
Yeah.
Nobody will find out.
Yeah.
The phone and the camera inside the burn barrel.
Yeah.
All that there, and then the idea that the cops killed the woman and then placed her there.
Okay. Well, no. Like
This is a
that
guy
hard
that's
to
going to get
believe.
stuck on jury duty.
Yeah. Now, I would say
There's
like,
crumbs everywhere.
To pop a hole in. Okay. Well, so definitely sketchy is Coburn calling in the RAV4 plates.
Yes.
Like very early on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a very early thing that happens. So it's like he's just like, okay, just checking. All right, thanks.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
like what was that about? We don't know.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
just a lot of I have all the date. I don't have all the dates like
Yeah.
in mind. But yeah, it's like Halloween that the burnings, that Halloween that everything happens.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed. I expected to show up with like a lot of yarn attached with
Yeah.
clothespins
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
thumbtacks all over their way,
Yeah.
like outlining for fast reference.
I was trying to find a graph online all day to print out that showed all the major players so
Yeah.
we could have it.
Well, they had
I
that
couldn't
kind of
find
like
it.
going
any.
through
They
that little,
did
that
have-
little family tree of.
Well, we didn't even talk about the first thing, which is
Right.
if you don't know much about this, the first episode is about how he was exonerated
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
for an attempted rape that
He
they
had no
finally
part in.
yeah, he was in jail for what, 18,
18
years.
years.
For that, and they definitely found DNA of the other person that did
Absolutely.
it.
Right.
Who in and then where the people prosecuting him had gotten a call from another county with someone else confessing to this crime, saying, "I think you got the wrong guy."
Yeah. Right.
And they just like, it's lost it on a sticky note, you know,
Yep.
somewhere.
Yeah.
By the way, I listened to the podcast Radio Lab a lot, and they did one about that basically
that
the
first
first
crime?
episode. There's like a Radio Lab about
Yeah.
that. That came out like 5 years ago.
About the DNA stuff.
Yeah. So it came out, not too
prior
long.
to him.
Right. No. Prior to 2010. It was like
Yeah.
after. It was after he'd gotten out of jail, and they talked to
But
Stephen
before he
Avery.
murdered that woman.
Right. But before he was framed of murdering this woman.
What are we legally allowed to say on
I think
podcasts
all of this. I
anymore?
think all of this.
I think it's
Well,
all fair
I
game.
think it's law that as long as no more than 50,000 people listen to it, you can say
Then we're
anything.
fine. We
it's,
are
it's
fine.
Not, it's not liable up until
Our
that
4
point.
listeners in Australia are going to
Yeah.
be super
Yeah.
confused.
Right.
By
Well,
all
this is illegal in Australia.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
can't set foot there.
You can't. You
anymore.
can't podcast
But
in Australia.
he's in jail now. I mean, he's convicted. He
Yeah.
was found guilty. He's in jail.
Yep.
So, what are you going to do? But it is pretty.
Yeah, what are we gonna do? What can be done? Like the appeals
Nothing.
court seems to have gone through.
Yep.
They
Yeah.
trying to take it to federal. Is that the
Yep.
next
Yeah.
step they can do?
Yep.
Like the state turned it down. Like Wisconsin state was like,
Yeah.
nope, we're not
Yeah.
gonna take this case again.
No.
And
I just-
even the Innocence Project totally backed away from him.
Yeah.
completely.
Right.
Yeah, they did.
Like
Because
that's too much.
Yeah.
Oh, Will's like because he's guilty.
Yeah,
the
'cause-
Guilty Project will take him.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, the Innocence Project backed away because of what? Why? I don't know why.
Well, because of, he was like their poster boy when he first got out.
Yeah.
The first time. And then they basically were like, well, I guess this just proves it. And
Right.
because he also God, what was he gonna get? Like $1 million, $2 million,
$30 million.
No,
Something
yeah,
like-
it was like
36
$30
million or something.
It was like he was like suing for who knows
Wrongful
how much he would have
imprisonment,
gotten.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure the
Yeah.
like judge would have knocked it down somewhat or
Yeah.
whoever picks that.
Yeah.
He
But
took
he
his-
was
he
suing
took something,
for
yeah.
like $40 million, I think.
Right.
And then literally it was like he took a fast settlement to get $500,000
To pay for his lawyers.
Yeah.
to pay for lawyers who actually had been to law school.
Yeah.
Right, yes.
And like so like that I don't the motive okay, so he has issues for
Yes.
sure. He's definitely a violent dude. Would wave a gun at his
He
cousin or
threw
whatever.
that. He doused a cat in gasoline and threw it on a
That's
fire.
true. That's not really brought up in as much detail in the thing.
So
it's referenced.
I would like to talk about that for a second. I get the feeling like I really fucking focused on watching this show. I get the feeling that a lot of people were like had this show on while they were doing dishes or something, because like there were like revelations that people posted after the fact, and I was like, that was in the show.
Yes.
Well, like
it's
I
in the-
remember the cat thing was a big
Yes.
one.
It's in the
where
first
he
Did they
doused-
say he was doused?
Yeah, they said
Okay.
the cat was doused in
Yeah.
oil, and I believe they have Stephen Avery. It's him saying
He
it. It's
says
not
it.
somebody else.
It's not a revelation. That's enough for some people to just
Absolutely.
fixate on.
Well, it's in the first episode.
Because the
Yeah,
internet
by
loves cats, Red. I don't know if you know
Yeah.
that.
I noticed.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, we tossed over the fire.
But they
and-
also was like, he would get in a little bit of trouble, a little
Right.
bit of armed robbery,
Yeah.
a little bit of animal cruelty,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
It's also amazing how like his brother worked for the sheriff's department. His cousin was married to a cop. One of her best friends was a cop. It's like
Yep.
it's this crochet
Cop
of like citizens that are like doing all kinds of crimes, and then their relatives that are on the police force. It's
gotta
this
say,
weird
isn't-
mix.
Yeah, isn't even like a guy, if it's not Coburn, a guy who looks just like Coburn is one of the people leading Brendan Dassey away from the trial.
Yeah.
It is Coburn,
Yeah,
right?
it's Coburn.
It's like
Yeah.
that's how small this town
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
There's they all fucking know
They
everyone.
have
And they've
5
all-
cops.
And they've
Yeah.
hated the Averys for a long time.
hate
the
too.
Averys.
Does anyone like
That's
just, okay,
the
they
only
own a
thing they
junk.
agree on.
They own a junk place.
Yeah.
And
A
there's
salvage
jokes
yard.
about them being
Salvage yard, thank you.
incestuous, and there's also some accusations. Like, at least Brendan, who knows what the fuck anything coming out of Brendan's mouth? We don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But he claims that he was molested by Steven.
Yeah.
So there's like all this stuff. I don't even know where I'm going with this, but it's making it look pretty bad, actually, isn't it?
No, no.
If you're not sorry, I can't help you. What I don't want you to do is spend the rest of your life in prison. Can you look at me? Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison? Okay. You did a very bad thing.
Yeah, but I was only there for the fire, though.
Brendan, you haven't told me the truth yet. And what I don't want you to do right now is tell me any more lies. So you're going to make a decision before you start writing anything. You're going to write the complete truth, no matter what the truth is.
Can we get to I feel like people haven't talked enough about the biggest mystery in Making a Murder, which is how does Stephen Avery have 3 long-term girlfriends?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that...
Oh,
Like,
one
he
that
is one
met
of the
in
most...
jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
He's
that
got
he met
game.
in jail. Yeah.
He's got
So
game.
much game.
With that, like, that body and that accent, he's still
Yeah.
fucking, like, how are there single people? I don't... And what is it about Stephen Avery? There's no part where I was like,
I
this
know.
man is incredibly charming.
his array of haircuts throughout the
Yeah.
entire thing. It's like, jeez, man.
come
All right,
on.
maybe next time. Oh man, come
No.
on.
Yeah. I like how if you watch when you watch the first episode, it does set up the entire rest of the documentary really well, which I didn't realize till I went back to watch it. But it ends with one of his earlier lawyers saying, "If you sue the cops in court, make sure you don't live in the same city that you're doing it in, because they will frame you for murder." And then it's like the rest of the episode. So
Right.
it's like it's kind of setting all that up.
But honestly, when that other dude came out and said it would have been easier to kill him,
Yeah.
Yeah.
as fucked up as that is, I think it would have been easier to kill him versus having someone else killed and setting up a murder.
It's elaborate.
Like, because it's pretty elaborate.
Well, I don't
Like,
think
what
there's no part of me that thinks the cops killed Teresa Halbach. I think there was
But
another.
somebody did.
Yes, and I don't think it's the cops. I think somebody killed Teresa Halbach.
Yeah.
And they decided it was Stephen Avery, and they were like,
They're gonna
But
make sure it happens.
deciding
And
it was
maybe-
Stephen Avery by putting her body on his property.
I
and
mean,
her
yeah,
car
that's
on-
if you
on
buy
his
that.
property
If you
and,
buy that defense,
and
that's the thing.
and
Yeah.
all
Well-
of that, like
I mean, if you think it was, I mean, the Avery
that's moving a
properties-
body though. That's like
I mean, they were gonna have to move it anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody's
because
gotta get moved.
moving a body and then dropping a key are two very different things.
Right.
Like they have to get on that property. They have to.
Oh,
move,
you're saying like what the police are capable
Yeah,
of.
like when would they be capable of moving that body and getting that body onto the Avery property
Well,
and burning it so
the
close to the
incompetence
house?
level is pretty high in the
Yeah,
police
I
department.
don't
That's
trust
true.
anybody to be that smart in that town.
No, well, listen. Based on what we've seen, I trust. I would say the prosecutors. I would trust to execute that series of actions more than I would expect Stephen Avery to just randomly
go.
murder a person,
All right.
and to do that half-assed job covering it up.
I felt like there was a forensic scientist who, pathologist perhaps, that said that the bones in the burn pile had not DNA, but like residue that was found. You could find only in the because there was some sort of giant excavation pit nearby that everyone would go and party, and they had a big burn area there.
Is that in
It
the
could
doc? Or
warrant-
is
No,
that
it's
something
one of
that's
those.
good?
Yeah, it's all those missing
I got
evidence.
in a huge Twitter war with Pajiba over this.
Right, because they're the ones that posted that.
Yeah.
Thing. That Pajiba post is like things
So-
that got left out that
Right.
prove.
So I got. So what I didn't realize is the Pajiba Twitter handle. It turns out this. I will get to the points he had, but the Pajiba Twitter handle is also the guy who created the site's personal Twitter handle. So I was like, I wasn't trying to call the guy out, but I did not realize
did.
that was the case.
Right.
And I was just like, what the fuck is Pajiba doing?
Yeah.
So the site, what bothers me about that is he basically spent an afternoon Googling shit.
Yeah.
And then posted an article with like a bunch of like not seen in the documentary. There were several facts that were in the
Yeah, there
documentary.
were.
Yeah.
Like there was no major effort. It's a
just-
pop culture site.
Yeah.
He was commenting on it as a pop culture thing, and it's like, oh, here's some stuff that's
yeah, he
inconsistent.
took stuff from Reddit, I think.
Right,
a
which
lot of
is
it, yeah.
which is fine, as long as it's not an actual murder. Like if,
Right, I see what you're
it's
saying.
if we're
It's
watching
Guardians of the Galaxy versus an
right,
actual
yeah,
woman.
yeah.
who
If we're
get
watching
killed.
The Sopranos, like, sure, show me
Yeah.
the stills from the set that solve this for me.
Right.
But like he did like an afternoon's worth of work because to keep that site running, that's the most amount he can do.
That's probably the first thing that comes to the top 5 things about this.
Yeah.
When you Google it. That
yeah,
Pajiba
and
site,
then there like a bunch of serious news places quoted that article of like half-ass googling.
That's bad journalism.
That's-
It's
Yeah,
well,
it's
and that's
terrible
the thing.
journalism.
Like, so I basically I was posting like these are a bunch of fucking Reddit facts that he scooped up without cross-checking or doing any serious investigation on, and then
And then those outlets, media outlets, didn't fact check anything as well. Like,
But
that's-
yeah, no.
like,
So
that's-
there's certainly they're certainly more at fault than Pajiba. People who regularly read Pajiba. I don't know how to pronounce that, by the way.
I
The
have
more
no idea.
times I say it, the more I get
That
worried
was
about
maybe
it.
an
Just
H,
say,
like an HJ, I thought.
Pajiba.
Not an HJ. You know what I mean. Not an HJ. Pajiba.
But people who regularly read that site obviously realize it's a pop culture commentary, and they would treat it as seriously as me talking about Game of Thrones.
I feel like I know people that write for that site too. There's like
Yeah,
some
so
comics
there-
that write for that site. Yeah.
Oh, are there? I don't know.
like
I
Joe
think
Starr, I think. Yeah.
Joanna Robinson writes for it, and she was the person who got real mad at me when she thought I was calling out Dustin. But yeah, so you're right. It's the news organizations that are using that as a source are certainly more culpable, but at the same time, like you have to be aware
well, with anything like
of what you're doing in something like that. That is
is
an
true.
actual murder, and I understand it's in the pop culture zeitgeist.
When
so
you
you
start-
need to comment
Well, that's
on
what
it in some
happened.
way.
when you
That's a
start
phenomenon.
nitpicking all these things, you start getting into all these details because, like, I don't know, like you can go like way off the deep end saying that like the police had this elaborate plan to set up Stephen Avery.
I don't.
And
So
it's just like
no,
and
not
then
set up. Frame. They're very
Frame-
different.
frame-
They're
frame
very
it.
different.
to frame him.
I like your
that
point,
is
though.
funny.
I think what you're saying as a point is that, like, basically, we're in this era of serial, of making a murderer, of the Jinx, where we are having like these armchair
Absolutely.
sleuthing.
It's happening right
and
now.
It's and we're doing it. We're participating in it as
And
well.
Paradise Lost.
And Paradise, and like
Yeah.
there's this tradition
Yeah.
that comes from like exonerating people or trying to like prove, or the opposite with the jinx, like trying to prove, trying to nail this guy.
Right.
And we're not qualified, and also we don't have to adhere to journalistic standards.
But,
because we're a podcast, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're a comedy podcast, arguably.
But when you do a police investigation, most times you have a lot of information, and especially with a high-profile case like this, because this was high-profile going into it because of who he was.
Yeah.
And the first time he goes to jail, there was, no evidence against him. This time, it's a completely separate case, and that's what they were trying. That's what the defense was trying to do. Was trying to say, look what they did to him before. They're trying to do this to him again.
Right.
That was really their only argument because the case against him was so strong.
Right.
Even if you take out some of the testimony, even if you take out, say, the key, there is still enough evidence to convict him.
Right.
But I don't think anything happened in that house, though. That's the thing that still bugs me.
I think it happened in the RAV4, maybe? There would have been like bullets or some more
Yeah,
blood
that's
or something.
the thing. I don't know if she was stabbed or had her throat slit. I don't think that.
I'm trying to think of like how the RAV4, like what are the possible scenarios? Like also, I was like, why would they need to put her body in the car at all?
Well, they talked about. I watched another
You watched
documentary.
the new one. Oh, the
brand
so
new
what
one.
is that one? Discovery
was-
Channel.
What's it called?
Discovery Investigations. It's just a basic talking head show about reviewing the case.
Sure.
And they give you the basic.
Do they do a series of cases, or did they have like a specific one-off thing about?
This is just a kind of a one-off thing.
Okay.
It's a regular show that they do on that
Right.
station.
Oh, okay. It just happens to
and
be
then
this one
This
is
was like a
about
big
this.
42-minute special about this case, and they go through it, say, "Hey, he was convicted and sent to jail for 18 years for a crime he didn't commit, but then this other thing came up. Here's what was presented in the documentary. Here are some cases. Here is some evidence that was not presented either at all or very briefly in the documentary." Then they also talked to one of Stephen Avery's attorneys, and they talked to the prosecuting attorney with a brand new interview.
Wait, Krantz?
Yes.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah.
And
But he comes in and he basically says, like, yeah, we have all this evidence. And I'm like, yeah, you're still a jackass.
he no longer-
But you are right.
Yeah,
no
I
longer
don't know. He doesn't.
prosecutes.
Because he got for sexting
Sexting.
a woman who
victim.
he was.
Yes, but that had nothing to do with the case.
No,
Oh,
but it's
he's
character
still-
stuff.
Hey,
It
if
is.
if you're talking about him like throwing a cat over a fire like when
Yeah.
he's a teenager,
Yeah.
Yeah. but
This was a victim
I
that he was helping
Yeah.
to prosecute. Like she had been beaten, and he was helping her, prosecuting her case, and was
Yes.
sexting her.
Yes.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rotten. It's totally rotten.
And was telling her, like, if you want me to do a good job, you're gonna suck this dick.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, he's a creep.
Yeah, he is.
Total creep.
Yeah.
No, I've
But in this case of Stephen Avery,
Yeah.
I think
You're not-
the evidence he presented was
no, I don't think so.
The problem
Close.
is, though, you're not
No.
supposed to prosecute character. It's almost like people are out to get the Averys, and he was on
Correct.
trial again, and they were like, well, I don't know if he did it or not, but fuck it, he's an Avery, and he's going to go. Especially because he was found guilty on murder, but not guilty on mutilating a corpse, but then
Right.
guilty on, like...
because they didn't have enough evidence to show that that was basically everything that happened in the house.
Yeah.
There is the big question for me is, not who did it, because I think Stephen Avery did.
Yeah.
But how did it happen? What was the timeline? Because the timeline that they are giving is not. does
Well,
not
first of
fit.
all, Ken Krantz rolled up behind Teresa Halbach.
You know Ken Grants did something. You know
With-
that
with,
guy.
with
He
a
had
syringe full of blood.
he had texted her some dirty messages,
Yeah.
and she was not receptive. And she was like, "I'm going to send this to your supervisor." And then that didn't work, and then he murdered her.
I just think I feel like it kind of comes back to Brandon Dassey's older brother, or I can't
Yeah.
think.
Here's.
Oh yeah, Bobby Dassey.
I'm such a fucking vessel when I watch these types of shows. Can I curse on this podcast?
Yes, you.
I'm big.
Fuck yeah, you
I'm
can.
so like when I'm watching them, I'm like trying to figure out what's happening when they're guiding me, and it's weird to read after the fact. Like so many people have like built this world where like clearly it was this relative. Did you see the way he raised his eyebrow in this like early
yeah.
scene?
No.
Yeah.
Something online. I'm going back to random online stuff. Someone also just threw, and they kind of do this in the doc. They kind of throw the ex-boyfriend in the mix
Sure.
a little bit, like because that's a typical. In a lot of these cases,
Yeah.
it's an ex.
Well,
that
and it's
is-
some missing cell phone records.
Right, and
Yeah.
then there's like, that is still
weird.
weird.
Voicemail
That's still
messages.
weird.
Yeah.
That was just there, and then just like, okay, let's move on to other things
Yeah.
that came up.
Yeah. So there's, especially with this documentary, I feel like there's two, like, how do you feel about this type of documentary?
That's a good question.
Does it feel like should this shit even exist?
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally should. It's my very good friend is a court reporter.
Piece of shit.
He's a court. He's a
the
court.
way you started that sentence.
Yeah.
One of my best friend in the world.
Yeah.
This guy.
Did kill and murder 17
Oh no,
He
no.
actually did
he
kill
is a piece
somebody.
of shit, and I hope he hears that. This is his job, is to sit in courtrooms and listen to this stuff over and over. And he came out and he's like, the case itself and the documentary itself is incredible. It's very compelling. The story is very interesting, especially from a standpoint of my profession. However, he is 100% guilty.
Well, he's
Like-
a liar. We already established
Based on
Matt
all the
Dinger is
evidence-
full of shit.
Yeah. So like based on his like seeing people go to jail, seeing people convicted, and let go. And
So that brings up. So I believe that these kind of documentaries are good for one of two reasons. Either one, the correct one, Stephen Avery's innocent, and hopefully this brings about media such that he gets exonerated, or this is just how court cases always happen. This is like murder cases are always this gray. Like we always have conflicting pieces of evidence
Yeah.
that you can't really explain. And if that's the case, I think it's great. It's a great way to show people just how fucked the justice system is as a rule, which I think is disturbing in and of itself.
Right.
Which
usually it's way more cut and dry in that you have more than one person involved. One person will rat out the other person.
Yeah.
You don't have a 16-year-old who can't like answer any questions.
That's the
rationally
thing.
as
You-
one of
you
your-
got-
one of your defendants.
Yeah, like that guy again. Like I don't trust half the things he said.
Oh,
like,
but have you heard the rap?
yes,
the
I
rap.
did. That was
Brad,
in
have
the
you
Discovery
heard the rap?
documentary.
no, I don't.
It
I'm
wasn't?
very-
It
I'm
was.
not
I
excited
don't
about
listen to
this.
hip hop.
Can you burst it up off the Slack?
What?
So
yeah.
Brendan Dassey's half brother, who's also a Dassey.
Uh-huh.
This is Brad Dassey.
Uh-huh.
He's a half brother, so same dad, different mom.
Okay.
He's a Christian rapper,
Oh, wonderful.
and he made a rap.
Does he work with Hanks?
But you're gonna hear the rap right now.
He's suspicious, she's suspicious. Everybody think these two just did it. Killed the girl, such a whirlwind. Got the whole world talking trash. Just stick to the facts. Leave alone Mr. Kratz. Dude's trying to run, trying to hide. Random Minnesota, give the guy a soda. Just trying to live his life while you gotta talk smack. They didn't do it, they didn't do it. No, come to your senses, everything is just foolish. Things clearly showed that it was just a joke. Cops were only there just to prod and poke.
So did he release that before or after the documentary?
Oh, this is definitely him capitalizing
Yes.
on it after
Good.
the fact. Yeah.
Most definitely.
They didn't do it. They didn't do
Brad
it.
Dassey. Just going back to relatives of the Dasseys, more Dassey.
Yeah.
Does Christianity belong in hip hop?
I don't know that it was ever out of hip hop.
That's true. That's a good point.
I'll meet you at the crossroads.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should. And
You
then
guys going to Cornerstone this year?
I like how his lawyers, Stephen Avery's lawyers, have become like heartthrobs of the internet as well.
That feels
Jerry
so.
and
yeah.
Dean. Dean
Yeah.
and Jerry.
Yeah.
They're
Dean and
normal
Jerry.
core.
So they are like I think it was Jerome who didn't even have a Twitter account before and like set one up when the documentary was about to come out. And the way they're using Twitter is I'm actually intellectually okay with because they're almost all just like posting links about innocence and it's almost
Right.
always about the case. It's not them being like, hey, for our services call,
Yeah.
like
Slip and fall.
right. Yeah. It's but it does feel like what it is, which is they are capitalizing off of this documentary for
absolutely.
publicity. And it's I feel like knowing they're doing that, it's probably the least slimy way it could be done, but it's still definitely
Yeah.
a little sleazy.
People, the ladies like Dean.
Dean, yeah, surprisingly.
They want some strange with Dean. Yeah.
He has that strong, kind of calm confidence.
Yes, he
Well,
does.
he does. He looks like he kind of looks like a miniature
Simpsons guy.
real life To Kill a Mockingbird.
Atticus Finch.
Atticus Finch.
Yeah.
like
Not
little
Gregory
little
Peck.
shorter.
Yeah.
Like
More Jewish.
yeah. No, here's the thing. Like if it was age appropriate, you would totally cast Gregory Peck to play Dean Strang in the movie. Like, a little bit taller.
Maybe
little
Jerry.
Yeah.
No, a little bit taller, a little bit.
more of a
I'm just
chin.
saying, you get your natural movie upgrade.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I'm not saying he's anywhere near as good looking,
But-
but you get 3 or 4 inches
Right.
more. Like, you get better hair.
Yeah.
There'd be a couple scenes where it's really hot in the courtroom and everyone's fanning themselves and drinking iced tea, and he's like, "I'm no big city lawyer."
That's how you'd know it was a movie, and it'd be like, talk to the continuity guy's like, it's 18 degrees outside.
Yeah, it's October.
Nobody's hot in here. We're not in the South.
We're near Canada, and then people are losing they're getting jizz all over the newscasters.
Well, I wouldn't put it that way.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
they're getting boners off the newscasters. You got the salt and pepper guy,
Oh, yeah.
super
What's his
handsome.
name?
Salt and pepper guy.
Yeah.
I don't know his
I don't remember
name.
any of the newscasters. I just remember that they.
I do.
I feel
Yeah.
like they were doing. What you do?
Anjanette
Oh,
Levy.
you made a
yeah.
connection with some of these people.
Anjanette Levy was she's gorgeous.
Yeah, she kind of looks like Rashida Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay,
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
that one.
It's just like there's all these ugly Midwest people,
yeah, I
and then
remember
all
that,
of a
yeah.
sudden this like 10
people who
like
are
a
on
10.
TV.
the one who
like
the one
a legit 10.
the TV ready.
Not that I rate
Yes.
women
Right.
by numbers.
But
No, you assign ratings to women. That's your thing, George.
This is my podcast. that I
Dude,
hope to
George,
do.
if you haven't met George and you're a woman, you walk up to him and he's like 7.3. Nice to meet you.
There's also a Russian judge next to me. It's Misha.
they also seem the most competent in this entire
Well, no, they
documentary.
do. Yeah, like, and I was gonna say, like, I was actually admiring a thing that Jerry
I think
Buting does.
I think your rating has made you not realize her actual confidence level.
Well,
And then the salt and pepper guy.
we're talking about the journalists.
Yeah, the journalist.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
me, seemed the most competent and most like in the entire documentary. Oh, Aaron Keller. Oh, there he is.
Yeah, the silver fox.
Silver
oh wow,
Fox,
he's
yeah.
better looking than I remembered.
Yeah.
I will give you that one.
Yeah.
He got a lot of
ladies.
that makes more sense than Dean
Did he have a good voice?
Yeah, he's got a pretty nice voice.
Well, no. What's sexier than justice?
Yeah,
True.
I think that's what
What's
it is.
sexier than an impassioned defense?
Yeah.
No, I get
Get
Dean
some
Strang.
Strang, yeah.
Was it- no, nobody's going after Jerry. Like,
No.
if a woman's going after Jerry, it's because she doesn't have enough self-esteem to go after Dean.
Right.
But I
Which
think
but there's nothing inherently wrong
Jer
with him.
Bear.
But
Jer-
there's of
Jerry,
the two,
yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
clear choice.
That is true.
he's more of like I'd say like a Dan Aykroyd, a young Dan Aykroyd would play
Oh,
him or
yeah,
something.
I could see
but
that.
I like how he does the thing where he asks a question to the witness and then just turns around because he's so confident
Right,
about the answer that it's like
Right.
it's such a fucking alpha move. He's
Right.
such an alpha.
That
it's
no look questioning.
Yeah,
It's
the
like
no
learned-
look questioning.
It's
that
the
he's
Steph
learned.
Curry 3, man. It's like just
Yeah.
he's like, I made that bucket.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it.
I don't need to see how it's answered.
Yeah.
And they did find the vial. I mean, a lot hinges on that episode with the vial when
Yes.
they dig up that vial from the evidence.
And they have it right on tape too.
There's-
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, Will's got something to say about that.
All
No,
those
this is-
vials have holes in them.
No, this is one of those.
The
things
vials got
where-
holes.
They all
That's
got
your
holes in
rap, the Will Scoville
Yes.
rap.
We could go.
The vials
fir-
have holes. The vials have holes.
First of all, there are 10 hours of this documentary. Like we've forgotten 70% of it at
Yes.
this
If
point.
not more.
And so like
I'm
and
fresh.
once you've like made up your mind, you just remember the details. They're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the key points
Yeah.
that reinforce your view.
Because the
Like,
whole
wh-
time I was watching this, I was like, dude, that guy he's totally getting set up. And then
Yeah.
like it was when I was done with it, and just like,
Who else would have done it?
wait a minute, and that's when I started thinking, no,
Oh, You're
he
not
totally.
supposed to think after Netflix.
no.
Netflix and chill, Will.
Yeah. Switch back over to Parks and Rec and watch that again. Excellent show. Very, very
Also,
good
Rashida
show.
Jones.
Also has actually Rashida Jones.
Yeah.
We've learned nothing else tonight.
It's that we love Rashida Jones.
Has anybody seen her new show? Is it good?
I have not.
Have not, but she's also making an appearance in this other documentary I was talking about, the one about that jazz musician because he was. It's called "Keep on Keeping On." Clark Terry.
Yeah.
Because he was like a big mentor to Quincy Jones, who helped pay for that whole movie. So there's this one tiny scene in it where like, oh, Rashida Jones.
And she's the daughter
Of Quincy Jones.
of Quince.
And Peggy Lipton. Okay, this is going to turn into a different Twin
Yeah.
Peaks kind of
Yeah.
themed episode.
I-
So I don't know. I don't think that you've convinced me that it absolutely was him
No.
because there's still not.
There's still a lot of like.
There's
For me, there's still a lot of like garbage that the police were involved
Yeah.
with, and
For sure.
And there's still a lot of questions about the actual timeline that happened. That's a lot of that is up in the air.
And
But
they haven't found the murderer. Like, that's a big one.
They
They
did.
haven't
It's,
found the person
Stephen Avery.
who killed Teresa Halbach.
I'm not quite sure the timeline.
They didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Right.
They didn't do
He
it.
did it,
They
but
didn't do it.
Did you not hear the rap? Or do
Yeah.
we have to play it again?
Okay, let's go back to it one more time.
No, that's
You're
not what I
listening
meant.
to Sup Doc 89.1 FM.
The
And then
bird.
this is off topic, but Adnan, you mentioned him earlier. Isn't he
Yeah.
getting a new trial?
Literally today, he is in court to determine whether or not he gets to so I don't know exactly how it works, but based on one specific piece of evidence, they are deciding today if only that piece of evidence is allowable, and then if it is, so it's based on
There's a
Aisha's.
Yeah.
Wait, what's her name? Is
I
it
can't
Aisha?
remember.
It was the woman who saw him during that period
was
at the library.
Yeah.
Asia. It could have been Asia.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Yeah.
So and if they allow her testimony, then he gets some sort of other. I don't know if it's a full
Well, it's-
trial or if it's
It's
or if-
probably like an appeal or something, because they have to prove that like this changes the story enough to
Right, so
say we got to
this is-
retrial and re-examine all the evidence.
This is more to determine whether or not he has standing based on this specific piece
Yeah.
of evidence. It's not based on, they can't just like, well, then this, like it's whether or not this specific piece
Yes.
of evidence
Changes it.
Yeah, changes and
Yeah.
allows him to have a new trial.
Yep.
And
So
it sucks for Serial that how do you follow up a season like that?
I
Have
haven't
you
even
guys
listened to the new one.
I've listened to just the first 2 episodes.
I am caught up, and I'm very mad that they've gone to an every other week format. I like it a lot. The problem is with, and I don't know if this is a mistake on their part or if they did this on purpose, but it definitely makes it less compelling and less shareable. Is the story that they're going after? There's no question about what happened.
Oh, right. Yeah.
The guy joined the Taliban. That one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
no.
they
I guess there is a question about what.
well,
I guess I
haven't-
haven't watched.
Right, right. So,
Listening.
but the point is, they're telling you the story of what
Yeah.
happened, and nobody's
Refuting.
questioning the
Yeah.
story. So there's no.
There's
there's
not as much at
no-
stake.
There-
Yeah.
well, no, that's not true. There's a ton at stake. I mean, the question that you're ultimately answering at the end of this podcast, but we have nowhere near enough information to even start. I have nowhere near enough information to say oh, he should be court-martialed or he shouldn't or
Yeah.
or they shouldn't have gone to get him
Yeah.
or they should or it's ultimately the question is whether this guy what he did, if he did it for a good enough reason, and whether or not he should suffer punishments as a result of that.
See, I think that's why a show like this and then a series like Serial was so successful, is that there is a huge gap where there's no one else to really corroborate evidence.
Right.
Yeah.
And there is a huge gap in the timeline, and people don't quite understand what exactly happened.
Well, also after the first episode of Serial, you knew basically the whole outline of it. You knew that this guy was in jail, this other person's dead, and after the first one, you're like, this doesn't sound right, and
Yeah.
you're like, wait, who's that other guy? And why? How does this all fit together? And as you keep getting more information, you can revise your theory and think about it more and go look up stuff. What I think happened, because I was following, and tell me if we're getting too far on the Serial track, but is with that first season, Sarah Koenig hated people going to do research on their own.
Right.
She hated that. You saw her a lot of time she was so frustrated with people have you considered this? And she's like,
Yeah.
of course I have. I'm
Yes.
not a fucking idiot. I've spent a year investigating this story.
Right.
Wait for the next episode. And which, by the way, I thought that was incredibly naive to the point of being offensive, to be these are real people. It's not a fucking story you're telling.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right. That's a good
If
point.
there's evidence out there, people should be looking at it and
but
trying
then,
to find it.
if you have to listen to every single person who has some wild
I
hair up there,
understand
it's
why
you end
it
up
drove, why it drove her nuts.
Yeah.
As a professional storyteller, but to think that people would just sit there and wait patiently for her episode next week, when these are real
Yeah.
things that happen in the world
Right.
and there's facts.
Well,
out
they
there.
had the same argument with the Jinx, because the last episode kind of gives away, some really important evidence. of Robert Durst, because and they waited to put that episode out,
Right.
even though they had him already on tape and stuff.
But that's the same. You can say the same thing about like the Thin Blue Line. Like
That's right.
they had that, and you didn't know that until that movie came out.
I have less of a problem with the Jinx because they had a resolution. Unlike all this other stuff we're talking about, like there was a clear. Nobody got to the end, and they're like, "I wonder."
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think? Let me go over that stuff. You're like, no. Oh, that is an ending.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Siri, I think she chose a story that wouldn't have people like second guessing her the whole time.
Interesting.
And I think that's kicked her. I think that's it's less of a topic of conversation. Like you're not gonna have a serial podcast where you talk about all your theories about it.
Right. That's interesting.
But she also had she was not leaning one way or the other on that series, which is what I really liked about Serial.
It was much more neutral, even though like she clearly had a good relationship with Adnan.
Yes.
Like she definitely voiced the concerns that you were having as a
Yes.
listener. Whereas and very clearly in Making a Murderer, like they thought Stephen Avery was innocent.
Yes.
Well,
And
yeah.
that was the story they were
Yeah.
conveying.
I was gonna say we talked about the directors, Laura Ricciardi and Moira Demos. I didn't realize that Ricciardi has a law degree and an MFA in film. So this is like how she overlapped
Oh, wow.
between film and knowing law. And so I'm also wondering what's their next project, and do we have to wait 10 years for it?
Yeah.
Well,
and-
so that's an interesting thing. They started this documentary when it was
2005.
when it was just about a guy
Right.
Yeah.
who had been falsely accused of a crime.
Yeah.
And then like after they started covering it, all this other shit happens.
I know, that's
which
incredible.
Which is what makes it so nuts.
It is.
Yep.
That's one of those perfect documentaries when it's like it's incredible that you had cameras rolling and all this unfolded while you were there.
Yeah.
Also, HBO could have put this out because they met with HBO,
They
but
said
they
no.
HBO and PBS passed on
Wow.
it. So that's surprising.
Once again, Netflix for the win.
Yep.
What? So then the question.
Not a
and-
sponsor.
And I think Red brought this up earlier, but does this documentary succeed? And I think it does. I think it's a great documentary.
Well, it certainly it's compelling. Like
Yes.
that's obvious. As a piece of pop culture, it has clearly knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that like 4 human adults met to talk about it and were like kind of excited about
Well,
it.
George is here. I don't know. Adult. I'm not sure.
Yeah, but
I'm here. Whatever you say, Paco. I'll do whatever you say.
But I think either it's brought more light to a case that needs to be justified, or it's shown that the legal system is just fucked, and it brings more light on how terrible the justice system is. And so
Amen.
it succeeds on those fronts.
What's really scary is at the very first episode where he won't admit that he was guilty, so they are like, "Well, you'll never be pardoned then." And then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh wait, you were innocent. Sorry about that whole like you didn't admit
Yeah.
you were guilty
Yeah.
and you can't be
But
pardoned."
I think that's well. I di-
All episode 1, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so well, I don't think it's about being pardoned. I think it's about like you.
Or not pardoned, but paroled. I'm
Paroled,
sorry.
yeah,
That's what I meant. Yeah.
So I mean, I think that is standard and fucked.
it is, yeah. And that's my
but
point.
standard.
Yes.
Like, because a big part of whether or not, it must be different on a state by state basis, but I think in most of the places I've heard about, you have to show remorse.
Right.
And if you're not admitting you did it,
Yeah.
you are not showing remorse.
Yeah.
That reminds me of that scene with Mark O'Keefe and Brandon was just like, "Are you sorry? Are you
Right.
sorry you did it? I didn't do it. No, are you sorry though?
Yeah.
I'm sorry she's dead. Well, then
Right.
say you're sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh
okay,
my
I guess I'm
God.
sorry she's dead.
It started making me ill watching that.
Yeah.
That part was just like this kid has no fucking chance
Yeah.
at all.
There's a lot of I have to look up what it's about, but there's a lot of the way that cops are trained to get confessions is like very much under question now, as being something that produces false
Yeah.
confessions.
Well, they don't want the truth. They want you to confess.
Well, they will always try to get you to talk to them without a lawyer.
Yeah, oh,
because
always.
everything that you say can be used against you.
Yes.
We should have brought a cop on this show.
Well, we can add. Yeah,
Any
or a
cop
lawyer.
comedians.
Oh
Yeah.
wow!
Not in this town. Every lawyer I've ever talked to has always said, "Don't talk to cops." And
Yeah.
I think Jessica Jones has also proved that to be.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yes.
Well, Red, thank you so much.
No, thanks for having
I
me.
think we've take Will's mic away. I think we've realized that he's guilty. Stephen Avery.
We didn't do
everyone
it.
agrees.
We didn't do
Didn't do
it. We didn't do it. We didn't. Okay, no
Well,
one's
I-
joining me
I-
on that at all.
I definitely didn't do it.
No, you didn't.
I
do
didn't
it.
participate in a Christian rap
Let the
song.
dogs out?
primarily.
You did let the dogs out, though. But thank you.
Yeah, and what else are you working on? You're
yeah.
going to be bringing back your podcast?
If you like Game of Thrones, you can look up Boars, Gore, and Swords.com. Or you can find us on Twitter at Boars, Gore, Swords. We're probably going to be starting that up again soon with my co-host, Ivan Hernandez.
Who's been on this show before also.
Yeah. Oh, has he?
Talking
Well,
about comedian.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, and you can find me on Twitter at red_Scott.
Beautiful.
And you
Thanks a
can
lot,
find me
Red.
railing about Bernie Sanders right now.
Sweet. And Will, thank you very much for
Oh,
participating.
and I like your Photoshop you made of yourself as Stephen Avery.
I did not make that.
Yeah, who made that?
I don't know.
I did.
Oh, you
Yeah.
made it?
Yeah. It's the one on our Facebook page.
I got
Did you
really
see it?
terrified that some third party
I
had
did.
made that.
He's a third party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
All right.
Good
Bye.
night.
Thanks for listening. You can find episodes of Sup Doc on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and TuneIn. Please review, subscribe, and rate.
And you can follow us on Twitter at SupDocPodcast and online at supdocpodcast.com.
This show is produced by Will Scoville, and our theme music is by David Siegel.
If you want to suggest a documentary or a future guest, please email us at supdocpodcast@gmail.com.